covered safety, etiquette, what to bring. Let's actually talk about some trails finally. What are family-friendly trails within Hamilton?
Well, in terms of family friendly, you have I believe, a lot of rail trails in Hamilton. I'm familiar with the Chedoke Rail Trail, but I believe there are many others. The Hamilton to Brantford Rail Trail, rail trails that go through the Dundas Valley Conservation Area. Those are good to take families on. I would recommend Dundas Valley Conservation Area itself, although it is very hilly. The trails are wide. Packed earth, and quite safe for children to walk on. You can go to the Bruce Trail 31st edition of the reference guide, and you'll find all kinds of the Bruce Trail in there, but within those trail systems, you may be able to find trails that are easier to follow. Also, I can recommend this book called Hamilton Hikes, Loops, and Lattes, 34 loop hikes. They're not all child-friendly, but many of them are. I'm thinking of, where else can they go that it's quite friendly here? Just a lot of I think rail trails more than anything for me and the conservation areas.
I think Salt Fleet and Devil's Punch Bowl actually are really
Yes, Devil's Punch Bowl is all right, and also a Salt Fleet. I know they have the Conservation Authority is opening up a lot of areas of I think some up in Carlisle. Hamilton has a lot of good hiking trails around you. Use those two reference guides, and I'm sure the city may produce suitable trails for family. The main trail going through Hamilton, of course, is the Bruce Trail, but it's not all child-friendly. I think the one we're on today, coming from Albion Falls to Felkers Falls, is probably not a bad one to choose. It's pretty good. And you also have, I think is it the Lafarge Trail? No. Trying to think of which one is up by the Devil's Punch Bowl across the road.
I think it was the Dofasco Trail?
Dofasco Trail, yes. I believe that's fairly family friendly in parts. Yeah. So those are the ones that come to mind to me. But go to your own city to see what they offer in terms of family trails. Try this book and try the Bruce Trail guidebook as well. And the Hamilton Conservation Authority has a lot of trails. Christie Lake is another good one that you can follow. So there are many easy trails in the Royal Botanical Gardens. Easy underfoot, not necessarily easy in terms of hills, but this is a good time to teach children that hiking is not only flat, but it goes up and down. And then, so you've got RBG trails at Princess Point, you've got the Arboretum, and Henry Valley is the most delightful place to take families, and it's easy. The other family-friendly place is the Karst, Aramosa Karst, and that's not only an easy walk because it's flat, but it's got a lot of geology attached to it with the different rock formations and the little caves that the children can look into. So that is a good place, another good place. And trails up the Red Hill Valley. There's one that starts down at Lake Ontario and goes all the way up the side of Red Hill Valley. You end up at Mud Street eventually, and that's fairly easy walking. And walking from Albion Falls along Bruce Trail, but I think there's are there any city trails in there? There might be that you can use. So that's a family-friendly place in terms of walking in Hamilton.
It's amazing how many family-friendly trails are around here. Let's go for something a little bit more interesting. What about the experienced hiker or someone who wants to challenge himself? What are some little gems that they can go for?
Well, the Bruce Trail, of course, is the main challenge in this area. Starting down in Grimsby, you can challenge yourself by climbing straight up the face of the escarpment up to Beamer Falls. Follow the trail, then it becomes easier through vineyards and long roads, but you've always got rock. The main thing with the Bruce Trail is there's always a lot of rock. So another one is where we are today at Felkers Falls. You can hike down to the Devil's Punch Bowl, hills, rocks, all kinds of other things to challenge yourself. So that's another area. anything going through Hamilton on the Bruce Trail can be very rocky and hard to walk underfoot. I'm thinking of the Bruce Trail going through Dundas and up the Sydenham Road and through there all the way to Mount Nemo, which is where the official end-to-end, that's one of the trails they do, and it's rocky and uphill. Rudy, I call it the R&R hikes, Rocky and Rudy, not rest and recreation. So if you really want to challenge yourself, just go to your Bruce Trail guide if you have one, and you can find those areas where you can really challenge yourself as you go north on the Bruce Trail. Even further, Stony Creek has some very rocky areas in there. And even if you want to go further towards Niagara, Grimsby over that way, it's very, very challenging in there as well.
I also think it's worthwhile to mention that Dundas Valley itself, you can make as difficult as you want. There are some very difficult sections you can make happen for yourself if you want something very long and just takes up your entire day.
Yes, because there are a lot of hills. They don't call it Dundas Valley for nothing. And if you get good leaders who know where they're going, they'll take you to places where you've never been before. Groundhog Hill is a typical example. And then, of course, you've got the waterfalls all along the trail through Hamilton. You've got Albion Falls. You've got Felkers. You've got Tiffany. You've got Sherman. And all along the trail, if they're not big waterfalls, there's little ones that are always very pretty. But it's rock, it's trees with roots. These are the things that make a hike more challenging, and of course hills. And you can really challenge yourself in those ways. Okay, so another very challenging section is the section that goes east or west. You park at the end of Old Guelph Road, and if you go east, you have to go under Highway 6 through the tunnel and then start climbing. And in that section goes up and down towards Waterdown, and eventually to Smoky Hollow. I think you cross Snake Road in that area. Yes, so it's lots of up and down. Or you can go the west side, where you go up and then you encounter a lot of rock, and then you eventually come down into the Berry Tract, and lots of hills involved there, lots of rocks. So anywhere you look around on the Bruce Trail, and sometimes there may be trails that are not on the Bruce Trail, which can prove to be very challenging as well. I think you, as the person who's listening to this, you need to find these things out for yourself, and then find out what suits you or your family or just you.
Thank you for sharing so many amazing hiking spots and tips with us today. I wonder if we could end off with a really fun nature story.
Okay, so my nature story took 1.5 years to complete. It was when my husband organized an end-to-end of the whole Bruce Trail, and this is one of the things that I highly recommend people do, whether it's an end-to-end of the Bruce Trail or the Oak Ridges Trail or the Elgin Trail, the Avon Trail. There's all kinds of trails that you can hike the whole thing. However, we had 19 people. We started in 2001, and we hiked spring every second weekend, 2 days, and then in the fall. And we did that 2 springs, 2 falls. And one of the things that happens every day is we start milling at about 9 o'clock in the morning. We have a hike meister, who is the guy who organizes the car shuttle, and he would get people in cars. And one of the things we're always looking for as we're hiking that day is a perfect lunch spot. And we found one, not in this section, but somewhere further north on the Bruce Trail. And everybody sat down, logs on 3 sides of a beautiful grassy area. And over on the left is a nice little picnic table, which my husband decided to sit on. And before you could say anything, the table flipped over. His weight pulled it down over top of him. He couldn't get up because his backpack was holding the table down on him. So instead of helping him, 18 people jumped up, took out their cameras, took their pictures, and then somebody went to help him. And that was one of the fun stories that we had as we did our end-to-end. And I'm sure that anybody who's done an end-to-end of the Bruce Trail will have many, many funny stories. But for me, it's the joy of being out there and hiking. It's the joy of being with other friends, and it's the joy of challenging myself exercise-wise and just being with other people. It's all very healthy.